I'm just arriving in a style to which I shall never be accustomed at Grimsditch Hall at Warrington in Cheshire, where I'm on the trail of an actor who has a thoroughbred history on stage and on screen. And to help me in this endeavour, I have someone who is very close to one of the most clued-up men in Britain. And here she is, Sherlock Holmes's housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson, alias Rosalie Williams. Rosalie, how kind of you to help us.
Oh.
Now, Holmes is keeping our man busy, is he?
Oh, yes, he is.
That's excellent. And could you just give us a little clue as to the identity of our subject?
Well, I think I should say that's elementary.
Seems to ring a bell. If you'd like to go and help set the trap,
yes.
I will explain a little more about our plot. Thank you. What is happening is that Rosalie is going to join Holmes, Jeremy Brett, of course, for another sequence in the latest series of the Holmes stories by Granada Television. This will, of course, include our subject and will include a line delivered by myself. So on with the case of the unexpected visitor. Action.
A woman.
He wouldn't speak of it. He was afraid of upsetting his grandmama, he said.
And so you never learned his name?
Forgive the interruption of this moving moment. Holmes, I'm obliged to you for keeping our secret. And I am really here because I'm here to say tonight, my dear Watson, Edward Hardwicke, tonight this is your life.
I know not what to say.
That was a perfect take before. There was nothing wrong. It's in the can.
Dear.
We did it again just for this.
Dear me.
We are now going back to our studio in Manchester to tell your story, which is not a simple one at all. So we look forward to telling that.
Thank you very much.
It was very crowded on that set. That was a real house, of course, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you always work in those conditions?
More or less, yes.
Well, welcome to our spacious set. Well, you are here, of course, Edward, with Prim, the lady who means more to you than Holmes himself, with family and friends and colleagues from the Sherlock Holmes production team. And now we lift the curtain on your crowded career in the English theatre and television. It is, of course, as TV's Dr. Watson that you have become most familiar to viewers.
Oh, my dear fellow, we have a hard and dangerous night's work ahead of us. Perhaps it'd be better if I gave an account of the whole situation when that work is finished.
No. I'm full of curiosity. I should much prefer to hear now.
But you will come with me tonight.
When you like, where you like.
Ha! Ha! What?
Well, just after I surprised you with the book on the Sherlock Holmes set, Edward, you were warmly embraced by a certain member of the cast, if you remember. Well, she is here, hot foot from the set, and she slipped into something a little more comfortable. Your daughter, Emma Hardwicke. Emma, you got the acting bug very early, I think.
Yes, I vaguely remember going to see my father in a play called Charlie's Aunt when I was very young, which is a very funny play. And apparently I sat stony silence through the entire play until his one serious love scene when I shrieked hysterically with laughter. And I think he probably thought at that point it would be better off if I was on the stage rather than in the audience.
Quite right.
But he's been really, really encouraging, and I've had a fabulous time working with him for the first time. Everyone's been marvellous. Really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
Now, Kate, you are Edward's eldest daughter and a trainee psychotherapist, to get it correct. So you managed to avoid the family tradition.
I have. Well, somebody had to, in the family, take a sane route.
Right, that's sorted you out, sir. Well, Edward Cedric Hardwicke, this is your life, and you were born into a theatrical family in London on August the 7th, 1932, the only child of distinguished stage and screen actor Sir Cedric Hardwicke and actress Helena Pixie Pickard. Your father, a star on the London stage, is launched on an international film career, and your early childhood years are spent accompanying him on trips to Hollywood as he stars in such films as King Solomon's Mines, The Hunchback of Notre Dame with Charles Laughton, The Ten Commandments, and playing alongside Bing Crosby in A Yank at the Court of King Arthur. Well, you grow up in an all-embracing theatrical environment, and your parents entertain such close friends as George Bernard Shaw, Noel Coward, and your godfather, Ralph Richardson, seen here with you in a home movie shot in the mid-1930s. That wonderful hair.
Yes, I know.
While your mother and father are appearing together in a Shaw play at the Malvern Festival, war is declared. It wasn't their fault, of course. And to escape the London Blitz, you are sent with your cousins Michael Woods and Christopher Pickard to Hill School in Malvern. A third cousin joins you at the school, and he has literally sweet memories of your time there together.
Do you remember, Edward, when Michael got himself locked in the pantry?
I'm just surprised you didn't make a production of it in your toy theatre.
It is your cousin John Kennedy and someone you've not seen for 38 years, John's sister Barbara. We've flown them both in from Zimbabwe to be here tonight. John, would you like to join us here and tell us about the secret of the pantry?
Do you remember that, Edward? Mike
Yeah, I do,
in the
yes.
sugar bin,
Yes, yes.
and you trying to pull him out by his legs, which were in calipers.
That's right, I do.
And I think he was stuck on bread and water by the headmaster for a couple of days.
Very likely. Quite deserved.
That must have caused quite a stir. Barbara, tell us about the toy theatre.
You were so keen on the theatre even then that you designed that stage for the exhibition for the school.
Oh, that's right.
We're all so proud of the way you've done.
It's wonderful to see.
Thank you very much, John and Barbara.
Thank you.
In 1945, at the age of 13, you switched to Stowe School. By now, you're already set on following your parents onto the stage. Your plans to enroll at RADA are initially delayed by the RAF. While you're doing your 2-year national service, you get the idea of starting a comedy partnership with somebody who shared your theatrical ambitions. You made a record together.
Don't make fun of the festival. Don't make fun of the fair. We must look glum on the business. Come and discover our comedy.
Well, more than 40 years later, you remain close friends. He stuck to the comedy trail, Ronnie Corbett.
Hello, Edward. I'm just delighted to be part of these celebrations. And when I was thinking of, you know, what might be important or interesting from our deep friendship over the years, well, it was just, I mean, the memories just come flooding back, rushing at me. It was very difficult to select, really. Of course, I remember when we first met all those years ago in the Air Force at Hornchurch, and your mum's very kind invitation that I come and have tea with you all at Avenue Road, 48 Avenue Road, and Turner answering the door, Bill Turner, in his white jacket and his striped morning suit trousers. Oh, very impressive, I must say. Can I say, have a wonderful evening. I raise my glass to you. And I've got a cellar full of this stuff, by the way. I must start putting it in bottles. Silly. Have a wonderful time. To you and the evening, Ted.
Thank you, Ronnie Corbett. Well, Ronnie referred there to your butler, Bill Turner, and he's a man you were all very fond of, and his widow, Vera, who for many years was the housekeeper to your parents, is with us this evening. Now, when you're demobbed from the RAF, you have the choice of joining your grandfather's business. He founded the Mecca entertainment empire, or treading the boards. No hesitation, you embark on an acting career, and while studying at RADA, you meet your first wife, Anne Idden. And while you're a student at the Academy in 1953, you make your film debut in Hell Below Zero. The star was Alan Ladd, and I believe he was very encouraging to you.
Yes, he was. He was anything over 5 words in a sentence. He said, give it to the boy. So I ended up with quite a good part.
But in spite of that, I believe your early stardom was dashed when you saw the credits roll at the end of the film. How did they bill you?
Well, I think I was billed as Edwin Hardwilke. I think it's Edwin Hardwicke.
Edwin Hardwicke.
Yeah.
Not as good, is it? Well, they get your name right, of course, as you build your career. You appear at the Bristol Old Vic with, among others, Peter O'Toole. You come under the influence of Laurence Olivier when you join the National Theatre Company in 1964. And there's evidence of a new depth to your work when you win an award for your performance in A Flea in Her Ear. Here you are with Rex Harrison in the film version of 1968. During the stage production at the National, you meet another young actor on the way up.
And Edward Hardwicke, your adventurous spirit took us to the top in New York.
Your good friend, John Stride. So you two got high together in New York?
Yeah. High as a kite. In fact, higher. And then he got me as drowned as a rat, because well, the high bit, I don't know if you remember, Ted, you took a group of us down to New York from Toronto, and you decided that we fly in from the airport into the middle of Manhattan in a helicopter.
That's right.
And it was, I can tell you, I'm a very simple lad, it was one of the most exciting things I've ever done, because you flew along Fifth Avenue like it was the Grand Canyon, with the skyscrapers sometimes above you, sometimes below, and you landed on top of one of the tallest, the Pan Am building. And I've never forgotten it, and it was a very thrilling experience. Thank you very much, Ted.
Thank you, John Stride. Well, as we've all seen during your long and eventful career, your work has covered a wide range, from classic drama to farce.
Is yourself a good judge of character?
Yeah, pretty good.
Then pick out two good, decent chaps to go with us. Us? You are coming with me.
Over the wall?
No, it's under the wall or over the roof.
And of course you already know Mr. Hooper. Now I'm sure they both make you feel at home.
I thought this was his home.
Mrs. Spencer, would you mind waiting out there, please? Now, is something the matter?
It's not right, is it?
Not right.
I mean, you're jeopardizing the entire employment exchange just so you can win your bet.
Our little wager has nothing whatever to do with it.
Well, I'm not giving you the money until he's done a week.
43 Oldenstrasse. That's the third time this year. They used to listen to me at the other place.
How do you mean?
Listen, you know. No privacy. When I was playing, the people in the rooms around used to listen.
How did you know?
I knew, especially the loud bits.
Now, in that last clip, we saw you in a scene from the 1970 television drama Beethoven. You and the actor playing the title role made quite an impression on each other.
Are you still impersonating the governor, Ted?
Enter Michael Jaston. Michael, who was the governor?
The governor was Laurence Olivier. It wasn't just Ted and myself who impersonated him. Everybody in the company did, to the extent that, perhaps you remember, Olivier one day got on the phone to a very important agent, and the agent was, after 30 seconds, he said, "That's a terrible impersonation," and put the phone down on him. And about 2 days later, he was plaintively heard saying to the casting lady at the National, "Nobody believes I'm me anymore." But apropos of Ted, Olivier didn't praise people lightly, but in my presence once, he said he thought that Ted was a very fine actor, and I go along with that. You're highly professional, you've got great style, and more important than anything else in any profession, you've got a very wicked, wonderful sense of humour, and I'm proud to know you.
Thank you, Michael Jaston. Thank you. On the day that you were born, Edward, your father started collecting words of advice for you from his celebrity friends, which he compiled in a book that he gave you on your 21st birthday. Prim, this is unique, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a very special book, and it inspired an anthology called Advice and How Not to Take It, devised and directed by Richard Digby Day, which Ted toured with the lovely actress Jill Bennett.
Well, understandably, you never allowed the book out of safekeeping, but with Prim's help, we sneaked some photographs of a few of the contributions, and it's Emma we hear reading the words of wisdom.
Let your conscience be your guide, Walt Disney.
For Edward, speak clearly and don't bump into people. Noel Coward. Advice for little Edward. Have respect for the opinions of others, but don't accept foreign advice without proof. Ultimately, rely on your own judgment. Albert Einstein. Don't go on the stage, Edward. You would only be Cedric Hardwicke's son at best, and it's a precarious profession anyhow. George Bernard Shaw.
Well, thank you, Emma. That's priceless stuff. There is some other advice that you've ignored in the past, as we hear now from a fine actor who was with you in the National Theatre. He's talking to you from his dressing room at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford. Robert Stevens.
Hello, Edward. As you can see, I'm kitted out for another party here in Stratford-upon-Avon. But I was thinking of a little anecdote of ours from those old days at the National Theatre at the Old Vic, when we did a dreadful production of The Way of the World, and you asked me if you ought to be in it. And I said, no, you shouldn't be in it because it wasn't going to do me any good. However, you disregarded my advice and you were in it. And I came to a performance one evening to your dressing room to collect something. And there was you and Bob Lang and Gerald McCoon looking terribly miserable because the play hadn't worked. And you suddenly turned to me and you said, I'm bloody awful in this play, aren't I? And I said, yes, you are. I told you not to do it. Do you remember that? Anyway, have a wonderful time and give my best regards to all the companions and friends I know will be with you tonight. God bless.
Thank you, Robert Stevens. Now, in 1976, you tour Canada in a play that co-stars an actor with a similar theatrical background to yours.
And, Edward, I really do think you'd make an ideal husband.
That's interesting. He's taken time off from rehearsals of his latest play, Rebecca, to be here this evening. And his father, of course, actor and writer Hugh Williams, was a contemporary of your father's. Simon Williams. Simon, I thought you said an ideal husband.
Yes, indeed he was. It's debatable in the play who was actually playing the ideal husband, but he was very good to me through rehearsals because he said we both share having a shadow of a very famous father, and we had great fun during the play because we were working with Wilfrid Hyde-White, who was on a matinee day he could be a bit of a rogue, and he held my hand through many vicissitudes there. It was excellent. And it's very nice now, Ted, to continue association with you and with Prim on the Actors Charitable Trust, looking after all the elderly of our profession at Denville Hall. So it's very good to keep in touch with you. You're not only just a great actor and a wonderful friend, but a very good soul as well.
Thank you,
It's been
Simon.
lovely knowing you.
Thank you, sir. Well, you've recently finished work on the film Shadowlands, and the star of the picture has this message for you, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Hello, Ted. Well, congratulations, they got you. Just want to say that our last work together on Shadowlands was a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. I don't know how we kept a straight face. But over the 30 years I've known you, we've always had a pleasant time together. We haven't worked together that much, and I hope we can more in the future. It sure was nice, and apart from being a wonderful actor, you are such a very nice, good man. And that's wonderful. Love to Prim and to you. Bye.
Thank you, Anthony Hopkins. Now, the Sherlock Holmes episode that I interrupted earlier featured an actress who bridges the days of your father's career with your own. She was the original Rose Marie and acted on stage with him more than 60 years ago and has had an outstanding career since. She is here now, aged 93, Mary Ellis.
Again.
Oh, no. Now, you've appeared with the father, you've appeared with the son. Are there any obvious similarities?
No, I think they're both wonderful in their own way. But I think, I'm not sure Edward remembers. I met him when he was 2 years old. The thing was, I was playing in my first film, and Cedric was playing a doctor in it. And one afternoon he said, please come back and have a tea. We have a little place on the Thames for the summer. And I went, and there was Edward, 2 years old. And he was a dear infant, and he's a dear man and a wonderful actor.
Thank
and that's
you.
all I can say. It's absolutely wonderful to play with you.
Thank you, Mary Ellis. Well, it's not quite the final curtain, Edward. 40 years ago, when you joined the Bristol Old Vic from RADA, you shared ambitions and the occasional glass of wine with another promising young actor.
What do you mean I have 3/4 of an inch and you have 3 inches?
Well, I can't wait to hear that. It is, of course, Peter O'Toole. Were you referring to Measure for Measure there?
No, Edward and I began our professional life together. We got our first jobs at the Theatre Royal Bristol in 1955. And we shared the same dressing room, number 7, for 2 years. And I think they were the happiest and perhaps the most simple times of our lives. The Measure for Measure. We played what were politely known as minor roles. And I walked into the dressing room one day and he said, "You've got 3/4 of an inch. And I've got 3 inches. I said, huh? And he was measuring the lines with a tape measure. And we carried this on as a running gag throughout the 2 years. Another thing was the new humour. Remember the new humour? He said to me one day, "That's a funny line." Yeah. That the audience should laugh. If you pitch it properly, with the right intonation and timing. Funny line. Pitch, intonation, timing, from the audience, not a sausage. So we used to watch each other. And he'd go on and I'd go on. And the audience would think, from our demeanour, we were going to be funny. As we opened our mouths to speak, they'd expect us to be funny. And then we fooled it. We weren't funny at all. And he called it the new humour. What I learned from Ted above all was friendship, companionship, and that our business is too serious to take seriously. Well done, Ted.
Edward Hardwicke, this is your life.
Thank you very much. Thank you.